Hi, my name is Wendall Yoder. I'm the founder of Impact Coffee Company. Impact Coffee was founded in October of 2023. Impact Coffee Company is a specialty coffee company, small batch roasted coffee, focused on obviously serving our customers great coffees, building meaningful relationships with coffee producers, and then through that, our hope is that we're impacting our community here in Mount Vernon, Ohio, as well as communities across the world, especially the coffee communities where coffee is being grown and harvested and produced, so that we're having a positive impact on all of those people involved as well. So our mission statement is, when you impact your community, you impact the world. That obviously came out of our name, Impact Coffee Company. Our goal when we're trying to decide on a name, as well as kind of what our long-term mission and goal was for the company, was just that idea of, we want to make sure that we're positively impacting our community where we're at, but that we're not just so inward focused that that's all we're focusing on, but that we want that impact to have a ripple effect out into the rest of the world. And especially thinking about the communities where the coffee is grown and produced, that we're not forgetting about them when we're working with our coffee, and when we're thinking about how we're producing coffee and how we're selling it to our customers, that we're keeping everybody involved and hopefully impacting everybody well. So when we were in the process of determining our goals and our mission, my faith played into that a lot. Is we believe the ultimate impact that we want to have on people is, we want them to hear the gospel. We want them to hear the good news of Jesus. And I personally think that coffee is a great way to do that, because there's a lot of conversations that happen around coffee, whether it's in our coffee shops, or whether it's just over a cup of coffee with a friend, or whether we're buying coffee from a community in Honduras or Colombia, wherever it is, that we're able to use that as a catalyst to start those conversations and build those relationships that hopefully ultimately lead to gospel conversations and gospel impact on those communities. So I think the idea first started to pursue opening a coffee company was probably sometime in early 2022. I'd been in coffee for a while, working behind bar as a barista. So just thinking about what the next steps were for us as a company, but also for me in the coffee industry, in order to be able to continue to grow and expand in that. And it just seemed like starting to roast our own coffee, opening our own coffee roasting company, was just the logical next step for that. And it was also part of the pursuing of, how do we give our customers the best experience, and always continuing to grow in that experience and the products that we're providing. And so it was just that process of thinking through those things, and then logically, are we able to do this? So there's definitely a process behind opening a coffee company. It was a longer process than I think I originally anticipated. Like I said, I started thinking about it in spring of 2022. We launched finally in October of 2023. So obviously a span of time in there where there was a lot of things that needed to happen for us to launch. There's a lot of permits that need to be had. There's inspections. There's training and me learning how to roast coffee well, to make sure that when we launched, we were proud of the product that we were presenting to our clients. And then also just figuring out, what kind of roaster do you want to use, and what type of roaster, what type of coffees are we going to be presenting. And so just working through all of those things, a lot of decisions that need to be made. And then finally just taking the step of, we're stepping out in faith, and we're going with this roaster. We're going to start with these origins, and working through that, and just taking that step and going with it. Obviously, I'm still continuing to grow in my knowledge and my skills and all of those things surrounding coffee. And something that just, the more that I'm in the coffee industry, but I always come back to is I just love the community that surrounds coffee, whether it's serving coffee from behind the bar to customers, or it's having conversations with producers and the farmers, or getting to have a conversation with an importer, or just hearing other people talk about their experiences in coffee. And there's a tight bond in that community of just a continually learning and growing, and how do we do this better, and how do we make sure that we're not leaving anybody out. I think that's a big conversation that's been happening in the last couple of years for sure, is how do we make sure that everybody in this industry is being treated well, whether it's being able to help baristas pursue long-term careers in coffee, or whether it's making sure that the farmers and the producers and their employees are being able to make a living wage. And then also just ensuring that we're providing coffee that is healthy, and that it's grown well, and that we're producing it the best that we can for our customers. And there's just a lot of conversations that happen around coffee. And I think that's how we continue to grow as people. That's how we continue to grow in this industry. And I just absolutely love that part of it. So we officially launched Impact in October of 2023. Our first step was obviously deciding what coffees were going to be our first offerings. And we started with bringing those offerings into North Main Cafe with the coffee that we're serving there through our espresso, our drip coffees. And so making sure that we had that lineup set, ready to go. And then from there, we did a launch party, which basically brought in a bunch of family and friends and brewed a bunch of coffee, and kind of presented our mission and our goals to them, and just let them drink coffee. And so it gave us good feedback on our coffee, but also gave us the chance to present who we are as a company and where we wanted to go with it to the people surrounding us. And then from there, it was simply bringing it into North Main and making sure that it was received well by our customers there. And then from there, just continuing to develop new coffees and continue to grow in the offerings that we've been providing over the past couple of years now. The name Impact Coffee Company just came out of just some conversations surrounding what we wanted our coffee company to be. And in thinking about it, we knew we wanted to provide good coffee, but we didn't want it to stop there. And it was just as simple as, we want to make an impact in our local community. We want to make an impact on our world. And so it was just, we're going to keep it simple, and we're going to name it Impact Coffee Company, so that every time I'm roasting and I'm putting that label on a bag, that is in front of my face, and I'm remembering why we started the company in the first place. But also, that way, every time it goes in front of our customers, that they're seeing that as well. And that also provides an opportunity for us to explain why we're serving the coffee that we do and who we are as a company. And so we wanted to keep it simple, something that's easy to remember, but also that it was just right there, that we're constantly looking to make a positive impact. So I think some of the hardest things in this process have been, one, being confident in, coming into an industry that's well established and is constantly changing. Two, is just having the confidence to continue to pursue what I love in the coffee industry, but also having the confidence that our customers are going to receive it well, and constantly just putting ourselves out there with new products or trying something different with our coffees. And so always just being able to do that, of just taking that step of like, we love this, and we're going to constantly put this in front of our customers. Obviously, always looking for feedback, but just constantly moving forward in confidence. And then also there's a lot of moving pieces. Obviously, there's no coffee grown in the US, so it's not as easy as going to the supermarket and buying green beans and bringing them back and roasting them. These coffees are coming from hundreds and thousands of miles away, and it's going from being picked by hand to being loaded on the back of a pickup truck to being sorted and processed, and from there going on a ship, and from there going on a train, and then on a semi truck when it gets here. So there's just a lot of moving pieces. And with that, it provides a lot of challenges. It's a lot of things. Thankfully, we're not handling every aspect of that, but those aspects do affect us with pricing and arrival times and all of that. And so there's challenges, a lot of things to keep tabs on to ensure that we have what we need when we need it, and that we're also able to work with those pricing difficulties with the producers and also with our customers, that we're being able to bridge that gap for those people. And then also, I think the other hard thing is being able to kind of drown out all the noise surrounding all the opinions and ideas when it comes to coffee. There's so many different ways to look at it. There's so many different opinions, and a lot of it is not necessarily right or wrong. And it's simply, you have to choose a path of, we're choosing this path with our coffees and for our clients, and going kind of narrowing in on what we want to provide. Obviously, our hope is never to be so inward focused that we're not trying new things and providing new things, but also being able to drown out all the different ideas and not try to pursue everything at the expense of not being able to do any of it well. So just being able to figure out what our main focus is with what we're providing and what we're pursuing, while still remaining open to new ideas. I think some of the most rewarding things have been, one, just getting to watch people enjoy our coffee. One of my favorite things is, so I'm having a conversation with somebody about our coffee, and they say something like, I always put cream in my coffee, but now that I'm drinking your coffee, I can just drink it black. And I absolutely love that. Obviously, I have nothing against if somebody wants cream in their coffee, but getting to hear other people's journey with our coffee, and as they continue to develop their palates and get to enjoy different of our coffee. So that's always fun to see. And I think also just the reward of taking something from the beginning and working with it till it's the finished consumable product is just really rewarding. That we're taking essentially a raw material and working with it, developing it to where it's ready for somebody to enjoy and consume. And there's a lot of reward with that. There's a lot of creativity within coffee as well, and just the roasting process and different roast levels and all the different tweaks that you can do to get the flavors you want out of it. So there's a lot of reward in that creativity as well. So long-term vision with coffee farm partnerships, at this point, we only have one direct trade relationship. The rest of ours, we're still working with importers. We have been making some shifts with the importers we're working with to purchase through importers who do have more transparency with their relationships with the farms, and that they're able to provide us more transparency. And then also importers that give us the opportunity to pursue relationships with those farmers, even though we're not necessarily directly buying from them. And so building more and more of those relationships, not only with the farmers, but also with importers that are providing transparency and are providing good relationships with the farmers on their end as well. And there's going to be a combination probably of us starting more what we consider direct trade relationship, that we're not necessarily going through an importer, and simply building strong relationships with good importers as well. Because there's a lot of challenges with direct trade, that we aren't able to do that with all of them. And obviously, long-term goal, would love to be able to do that with all of our origins, but also understanding that we need to be able to have variety, and we don't want to narrow it down to only doing that if we do have other good opportunities as well, and other relationships that we can build with quality importers. There's a lot of great coffee producers out there. There's a lot of great roasters. We are very proud of the product that we have. And obviously, we would not be putting it out there if we didn't love it ourselves and weren't confident that our customers were going to love it. There's a couple things that I think set us apart, and we truly are a very small batch roastery, to where if you have a specific coffee that you want and you want to pick it up a certain day, we can provide that. So we have the opportunity for some flexibility with our customers, especially local customers. And then also we do use fluid bed roasting for all of our coffees, which provides lower acidity, cleaner flavors. It enhances the flavors of the coffees. And we think through that method that we're able to highlight the coffees really well. And we've just got a lot of really positive feedback on those coffees because of how clean they are and lack of bitterness and all of these things that through the feedback that we're constantly getting through our clients and from our coffee shops, that we're able to continue to produce coffees that everybody is loving. And the other side of it is when you're buying through us, you're impacting our local community, you're impacting communities across the world through our partnerships, and whether it's through local charities that we partner with or whether it's through our partnerships in those producing countries where we're able to give back and we're able to provide wages for people in those countries through your purchasing through impact. So I have a lot of personal favorites. It depends on my mood and time of day, which ones that I'm choosing. So typically, like my first cup in the morning, I'm starting out with something like the Honduras, which is a medium roast, or our Homeland blend. Those are two of my favorites that are just really good daily go-tos. And then when I want to, step out and do something a little bit different, I want something a little bit brighter, a little bit more fruity. The Tanzanian pea berry is a favorite for sure. You get those bright blueberry notes, citrusy notes. And then I also really, really love our Ethiopian Yirgacheffe. Also a little bit brighter, but really good sweetness, and it's just a really good daily drinker as well. So those are my top 4 favorites. It'd be really hard for me to pick one favorite out of those, but those 4 for sure are on my long-term drinking list. So as far as new things go, we've got a couple things that we're in the process with, a couple new origins that we're developing. We're in the process right now of hopefully bringing 1 or 2 Guatemalan coffees to our lineup, which is a first we don't currently have any Guatemalan offerings, so we're pretty excited about that. I'm not going to go too much into what those tasty notes and things are going to be yet, but some really, really good Guatemalans that we've been working with and developing. Hopefully those will be coming to our shelves and our online store within the next month or so. And then we're also working on some cool new merch that will probably be coming hopefully later this summer. And we're going to continue to work on developing new coffees. If you guys have coffees that you would love to see us carry, we would love to hear feedback. Not promising that every time somebody has a coffee they want that we're going to be able to develop that and add it to our lineup, but we do want to hear feedback for what our customers would like to see. And we love working with new coffees. We love developing new coffees. So always looking to expand our lineup and offer good offerings from other origins or different farms. The long-term vision for Impact is just to continue to grow in the products that we're offering and continue to build relationships with more farms, more producers, and continue to just build more relationships around Central Ohio as well through wholesale, whether it's to coffee shops or markets and things like that. And then just continue to grow as a company in our transparency, and hopefully as we grow that we're able to just bring more transparency, more connection between our consumers and our producers, and build those relationships, and hopefully continue to just be a really good catalyst in the coffee community for that growth and continue to see where we can make an impact. So where I see Impact having a positive impact in our community currently, one thing is we're really the only specialty roaster in our community at this point. So being able to provide that specialty locally roasted coffee, and then also impacting our communities through our coffee shops, through our cafes, whether it's the Mansfield community or the Mount Vernon community, being able to offer our lineup of coffees at those shops. And essentially we're building relationships through each cup of coffee that we're serving. and just being able to see that impact that we're being able to have through those cafes. According to my staff, I drink a lot of coffee. It really depends on the day. Some days I try to be reasonable and have 2 to 3 cups. Some days it looks more like 5 to 6 cups. I'm pretty routine with my coffee, so if I'm opening behind bar and I'm dialing in the espresso, I usually start my morning out with a double shot of espresso. And then from there, it usually goes into drip coffee, maybe a latte. Other days, I always start out with a cup of drip coffee. And then from there, it might go into a cortado or something like that. But most days, I would say minimum is probably 3 to 4 cups of coffee and up to 5 or 6. And then after that, I try not to count typically. So I've had the opportunity to go to our Honduras producers a couple of times and just get to see the work that they're doing there, get to visit the farms, get to ride around with them and just see what their day-to-day looks like as coffee producers, and taking it from growing the coffee, picking the cherries, to the processing, and then where it goes from there. And then also just get to see their communities and get to see how they're impacting their community, and which has just been a really, really cool opportunity to have that relationship and continue to grow that relationship with them. So when we get that coffee from Honduras, we know exactly where it came from, we know how it was grown, we know what their practices are in producing, in processing, and we get to see their work that they're putting in to providing quality coffee. Is not only providing quality coffee for us, but it's providing jobs and opportunities for people in their communities as well. I think there's several aspects to how an origin trip like that affects our view as people, but also people in the coffee industry. I just built a greater appreciation in me for coffee and for coffee from start to finish, and just a greater appreciation for the work that goes into the cup of coffee that I drink every morning, and the amount of hands that passes through and the amount of work that goes into it. We often miss that. And I think one of the things that coming back from that, it really made me want to make sure that I'm doing everything that I can to tell their story, that we're doing everything we can to make sure that our end consumer knows where this coffee came from, knows the story behind it, so that it's not just a cup of coffee, but there's a story there and there's people behind that cup of coffee, and we're appreciating every step of the way. So when you hear specialty coffee, you may ask, what does that even mean? There's a couple things that make coffee specialty coffee versus what's called C grade, or more of a just commercialized coffee, I guess. So every coffee that we're getting, it's all cupped, and there's a number system that is used for coffee grading. It's called Q grading. So specialty coffee means that it hits 84 points or above. And so all of the coffees that we're using hit that mark or above. And so the difference essentially is between specialty coffee versus other just commercial coffee is how it's graded. All these coffees are hand sorted, and so they're looking for defects, they're looking for sizing. All of these things determine whether it goes into specialty grade or whether it just goes into a batch of commercial grade. And so typically with specialty grade, you're getting the best. And typically what's being sold commercially is going to have defects. It's probably sizing is not optimal. And then it's just all going to some big commercial facilities to then be processed, roasted, and packaged. Versus the specialty is going to places like Impact that are smaller roasters that are using traditional roasting methods and putting a lot of care and attention into the roasting and the packaging and all of that and consumer product, whereas commercially it's going to big plants and you're probably getting mixes of different coffees all going into the same packaging depending on what it is, and there's just a lot less detail that goes into it versus specialty grade.